Welcome to another session on Snowflake. Today we'll discuss about time travel feature. So time travel is one of the key features within Snowflake, and if I remember correctly, a few years ago there were not many databases or warehouses which were offering this kind of a feature. So what does time travel really mean here? As the name says, right, you can go back in time and restore your data before any action was taken. To give an example, let's say you have fired a query, an update query, and it has made changes to the table. And you realize after some time that the changes were incorrect. Maybe the user, maybe the developer forgot to add some filtering conditions, and you wanted to update just, two or three records, and you ended up updating more than 100 records. So in previous days, right, there was no other option rather than restoring the table from the backups, right? You had to go to the admins, and admins had to go to the backups and restore this table. But with the time travel feature, what you can do is the developer himself can just go back in time and restore that data. So that there are two ways you can do that. You can either uh, go back and restore something based on the timestamp, or the other way is to based on the query. So what the developer can do, he can just do a select star on that table with the timestamp which is less than when the query was fired. Or in fact, if you have the query ID, you can also do a select, and in your clause you can just add a before statement where the query ID is mentioned. So in both these cases, you would be able to see the previous data. Now that's the power of time travel. You don't really have to worry about any accidental updates or even deletes for that matter. You can always go back and fetch the previous data. Now, as I mentioned, it can be done in two ways, either using a timestamp or also using the query ID. And if you see on the slide, I've given the syntax. These are the high level syntax, right? How do you do that restoration? So you can do it at the basis of timestamp by giving the at timestamp command, or based on a statement. Statement is nothing but the query ID. Now, as I said, right, a few years back, there were not many databases or warehouses offering this feature. Um, Snowflake has this feature from long time, and nowadays you might have heard a lot about some of the open data formats like Delta Lake is there, Apache Iceberg is there, Apache Huri is there, right? All of these have such kind of a feature where you can go back in time and fetch the data. Uh, a lot of modern ecosystems are now being built by using such kinds of data storage, where wherein even if there are some accidental updates or deletes, you can always go back in time and fetch this data. Coming back to the Snowflake feature, uh, this feature is available in all the versions, all the editions. But yeah, there is a slight difference where in the standard edition you get the time travel up to 1 day only. You cannot go beyond that, and that is why I always mention that you should at least have an enterprise edition. Enterprise edition gives up to a 90 days of time travel. And what if the 90 days are over? After that, you get the 7 days fail safe option. So 90 days is what you get max for enterprise edition and above, and that's the reason you should at least go for the enterprise edition when choosing Snowflake for implementing your production systems. The default is set to 1 for 1 day, but you can change it to more than that if you are into enterprise edition. And the way to do that is you have a parameter called data retention time in days. You have to go and set that. The account admin, the user who has a role of account admin, can go and do that. Now, what are the use cases, right? Where would you use this now that you have understood what time travel is? Um, of course, right? If someone has done any accidental deletes and he wants to go back and see that data or restore, you can do that. But there are other use cases as well. The one way that we have often seen people using this is for doing some backups, right? If you want to do some backup of a data, right? Let's say you have an ETL batches running at the end of the day, and this executes at the night time, and the next day morning, that you have come to office and you want to uh, restore the data or take a backup of what was there. You can always run some backup scripts with giving the timestamp option before the ETL ran. So maybe daily you can have a process of backing up your data. Again, this is not really required because time travel feature is there. You can always go back and see that. But if you want to have that as a process, that can be done. The other action is or the other use case rather is for debugging, and this is something I have used it widely. That is when you want to debug something, some of the actions taken by your nightly ETL workloads. Let's say you're trying to understand whether the ETL has worked correctly or not. You're trying to verify the data, and you want to see what was the data before the ETL workload ran. You can always have these queries to see what was the earlier data, and then you can compare and try to debug your system. um, as I said, right, it is not just for selecting the data. You can also clone the data. So if you see on the slide, right, you would be able to also clone the historical data. So you can create a table. You can in fact create a schema. You can create a database also by using the clone command along with timestamp. So both of these properties are used here. So you can not just clone the data with the current data, but you can also clone a table uh, by using the historical data. So even that option is available. So, you using all these features, right? Time travel becomes a very, very important utility within the Snowflake ecosystem, uh, especially for the developers and the admins for both these roles, right? You can do number of things because time travel is there. No more you have to worry about any of the data getting changed or deleted or update. In fact, there is also a command called undrop table. So if by mistake someone has deleted some table, they can always go back and undrop that table. Not delete. If someone has dropped a table, they can always go and undrop it. So these are some of features or utilities that you get along with Snowflake's time travel feature. Thank you.